Hello, Eguie. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Awesome. I'm good too. So, I know that when you were younger, you used to practice with Giovanni Hidalgo, right?
My soul brother, yes.
What were you doing? Can you explain like one day of your practice?
Oh my God. Basically, I was the first one to have a driver's license, you know, to have a car. So basically, I pick up one of the other guys, which is called Eguie Castrillo, an amazing percussionist, bongo player, and conga and everything, at his home, like at 7 o'clock in the morning. And at 7:30, we get already to Giovanni's house and start practicing for 8 hours in his room. Of course, we stop for some lunch, and you know, Giovanni's grandma make some rice and beans and stuff like that. And we go down, eat, and back to the second floor because he lives in a 2-floor house. And study, man. Practice a lot. Exercises.
What were you doing, like, only exercises?
Yeah, can you bring me that conga, please? Exercises and rhythm, but basically exercises. The most important one. This exercise. We be there and develop that for hours. And with the other hand too, with 2 hands. That kind of exercise, and then with 2 congas, 3 congas, 4 congas, then conga, bongo, timbales, everything. We cover everything, but basically exercises, you know, for one side and to the other side. And something that Giovanni started doing that I don't know from where he took that idea. In the old days, before you guys born, we didn't have CDs. We have LPs with vinyl records, and the turntable come with different speed. So the normal speed was 33 and something, but you can go to 48 or 78. So Giovanni started putting those regular records in 78, which was very fast, and play on top of that. Yep. Very fast. That's why he's that fast. And we couldn't do it that way because he's a genius. He's a truly genius, you know. Well, I met Tito Puente in 1978. Before that, I was studying the School of Music in Puerto Rico, and a friend of mine, part of the school also, told me about Tito Puente. I didn't know what Tito Puente was by that time. So I heard Tito Puente. They know this guy's the king. I said, oh yeah, he's the king? Good. So I went back to my home and I found that my brother, which is older than me, have a record of Tito Puente. It was called Tito Puente Unlimited. I put the record and it was like, it's good, you know, it's good. But then I start to do more research and start listening more about that name, Tito Puente, Tito Puente. Everybody talk about Tito Puente like, you know, this guy is God. And then I start to listen to more to other records and other music, and I definitely discovered that he was what everybody said, you know, the king. He was the king. There's nobody like. So I started to learn his music and buying all his records, and finally in 1978 I get the chance to meet him. Thanks once again to Giovanni, because remember Giovanni come from a family of musicians. His father is a very famous conga player in Puerto Rico, Mañengue, that I used to play with big big names in Puerto Rico. So through Giovanni, we get the door open to the rehearsals and stuff when Tito Puente came to Puerto Rico. And there is a photo in internet that day that I met him. And after that was it. When I saw Tito, well, I saw Tito performing before I met him. I saw him performing in the Coliseo in Puerto Rico with his big band from New York. And I wasn't believe that what I was saying at that time. I was like, what is this, man? What is this guy? That was the day that I said I wanna do this. Thanks to that. So after that, I met him the year after, and then we became basically at the beginning was like I was like a groupie, behind him. But every time he come to Puerto Rico, I was there with my camera, with my record. He signed it to me, and we became friends. And in one way, he was a mentor because and a teacher, because everything that I know go back to him. I start with him, with that style, that way of playing, that mentality. Until in every time he come to Puerto Rico, I was there with him and whatever. But in 1998, it was the time when, actually, 2 years before, I was touring with Arturo Sandoval, trumpet player from Cuba.
Were you playing congas or?
Conga drums. And we make a recording called Hot House. And Tito Puente was the guest of the record. So I hang with Tito a lot, and I was part of the recording, so I record with him. And after that, 2 years after that, we did that tour to Europe with what's called the Latin Crossing. Actually, there is a video. There's like 2 videos, I believe, on YouTube of us playing in Spain. Latin Crossing with Steve Winwood from England, Arturo Sandoval, Cuba, and Tito Puente, Puerto Rico. And the drummer was Horacio Negro Hernandez, me on percussion, and Oscar Cartaya on bass, Odmaro Ruiz on piano, keyboards, Ed Calle, saxophone, and Tommy Anthony in the guitar. That was the tour. And that's it, man. Tito is my biggest influence, and until the day I die, I'm gonna mention his name every day. Every day, at one point of the day, I'm gonna say the word Tito Puente for the rest of my life.
Do you have any advice for people who start facing the music industry?
Man, the most important thing is listen to the old stuff.
Tradition.
Doesn't matter what kind of music, rock or jazz or Latin or whatever. Go back, listen to the old record, listen to the people that make that music famous, and respect. That's number 1, respect. When you start listening to that music and really, really, really listening, I'm not talking about if you like, for example, jazz, and you put John Coltrane and you listen only to John Coltrane solo, wow, great solo, blah, 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 blah. Listen to the solo of the pianist, so you are missing the whole thing.